The massive black Volf stood in the center of the destroyed diner, surrounded by broken glass and overturned tables. Its golden eyes moved from one enemy to another, calculating and deadly. The three men in suits had backed away, but they did not look as afraid as Mina thought they should be. Instead, they looked angry, like someone had interrupted something important. Alpha Timon, one of them, said with fake respect, "You are too late. The boy belongs to us now." The Volf made a sound deep in its chest that was part growl, part roar. Even though Mina could not understand animal sounds, she knew it was saying something like "over my dead body." The power radiating from this creature made the air itself feel heavy and electric. Suddenly the Volf began to change. Its fur seemed to melt away, and its body stretched and shifted until a man stood where the Volf had been. He was tall and broad, shouldered, with the same amber eyes as Jiho, but these eyes burned with a fury that made Mina take a step backward. His black hair was wild and his clothes were torn from the transformation, but he moved with the same deadly grace as the Volf. "Where is my son Taemin?" said in a voice that could have cut steel. "Safe," the man by the counter replied. "For now. But that can change very quickly if you do not cooperate." Tae-min looked around the diner and his eyes found Mina standing behind the counter, still holding her baseball bat. For a moment his expression softened and he nodded at her like he was saying thank you. Then his gaze hardened again as he turned back to the three men. "You made a mistake coming here," he said. "This place is under my protection now." One man laughed. "You cannot protect everyone, Alpha. You are just one Volf against our entire pack. Surrender the boy and we might let you live." From the storage room came a small sound like someone moving behind boxes. All the men turned toward the noise, and Mina knew Jiho was about to be discovered. Without thinking, she stepped forward. "There is no boy here," she said loudly. "I already told you that." The man by the window sniffed the air again. "His scent is everywhere human. You cannot hide him from us." That was when Jiho emerged from the storage room. The 8-year-old boy looked tiny compared to all the adults, but he walked with his head held high. His eyes were glowing amber, just like his father's, and there was something different about the way he moved. More confident somehow. "Father," Jiho said, running to Tae-min. The reunion between father and son should have been touching, but there was no time for emotions. The three enemies were already moving, positioning themselves to attack. Mina could see that they were planning to grab Jiho while Taemin was distracted. "Son, you should not have come out," Taemin said without taking his eyes off the threat. "I heard them talking about me like I was a thing they could own," Jiho replied. "I'm not hiding anymore. The boy is brave," said the man by the counter. "That will make breaking him more interesting." Taemin moved faster than any human could move. One moment he was standing next to Jiho, and the next he had grabbed the man who had spoken and lifted him off the ground. The man's feet kicked helplessly. As Taemin held him by the throat, "You will not touch my son," he growled. The other two men attacked at the same time, moving with inhuman speed. But Taemin was ready for them. He threw the first man across the room and spun to face the others. What happened next was like watching a carefully choreographed dance, except this dance was deadly. Mina had never seen anything like it. The three men moved like liquid and struck like lightning, but Taemin was faster. He dodged attacks that should have connected and landed blows that sent his enemies flying into walls. But Mina could see that he was outnumbered and starting to get tired. That was when she made a decision that surprised everyone, including herself. She grabbed the pot of boiling coffee from behind the counter and threw it at the nearest attacker. The scalding liquid hit him in the face, and he screamed, falling backward and clawing at his eyes. "Why did you do that?" one of the men snarled at her. "This is not your fight, human." It became my fight when you threatened a child in my diner, Mina shot back. Tae-min looked at her with amazement. This human woman was willing to fight supernatural predators to protect his son. In all his years of running and hiding, he had never met a human with such courage. The man Mina had burned was getting back to his feet, his face red and blistered, but healing faster than it should have been possible. Now all three enemies were focused on both Taemin and Mina, seeing them as a team. "You want to play with the big wolves, little human," one of them said. "Let us show you what happens to humans who interfere with pack business before anyone could." Moved. Jiho stepped forward. The little boy looked fragile next to all the adults, but when he spoke his voice carried a power that made everyone freeze. Leave her alone, he said. If you want me, then take me, but do not hurt Minna. She has been kind to me. No, Taemin and Maina said at the same time. The boy is learning, said one of the enemies with satisfaction. He understands that some sacrifices must be made, but Jiho was not offering to surrender. Instead, something amazing began to happen. The boy's small body began to glow with a soft golden light that got brighter and brighter. The three men stepped backward, looking suddenly uncertain. That is impossible, one of them whispered. He is too young to have that much power. Jiho looked at his father. I have been practicing like you taught me, he said. I am ready to fight. Tae-min felt pride and terror warring in his chest. His son was showing abilities that most wolves did not develop until they were adults. But using that much power at such a young age was dangerous. The golden light around Jiho grew stronger, and Mina could feel something changing in the air. It was like the moment before a thunderstorm when everything gets very quiet and charged with electricity. The three enemies were backing toward the door, now looking less confident than they had all night. This is not over, Alpha, one of them called out. The boy cannot hide behind humans forever. Our pack leader will not give up so easily. Then tell your pack leader that if he wants my son, he will have to go through me, Taemin replied. And now he will have to go through her too, he added, looking at Maina with respect. The three men fled into the night, moving faster than the eye could follow. When they were gone, the golden light around Jiho faded and the boy collapsed. Taemin caught him before he could hit the ground. Is he okay? Maina asked, rushing over. He will be fine, Taemin said, gently brushing hair away from his son's face. He just used more power than his body is ready for. He needs rest. As Taemin held his unconscious son, Mina looked around her destroyed diner. Every window was broken, most of the furniture was smashed, and there was glass and debris everywhere. Her livelihood was ruined, but somehow she did not care. She had helped save a child, and that was worth more than money. I am sorry about your restaurant, Taemin said quietly. It can be rebuilt, Mina replied. What matters is that Jiho is safe. Tae-min looked at this remarkable human woman who had risked everything for a child she barely knew. In his world, pack loyalty was everything, but Maina had shown him that family could be more than just blood and species. She had earned her place in their pack through courage and love. Thank you, he said simply, for protecting my son. For being brave when you had every reason to run. He is a good boy, Mina said. Someone needs to look out for him. As sirens wailed in the distance, Taemin knew they would have to leave soon. But for the first time in years, he felt like they might not have to face the future alone. The sound of sirens was getting closer, but before anyone could decide what to do next, more dark cars pulled up outside the destroyed diner. Mina counted at least 6 vehicles, all with the same tinted windows as the car that had been watching the street earlier. Men in dark suits began pouring out of the cars, moving with that same inhuman grace she had seen before. We have to go now, Taemin said, lifting Jiho in his arms. The boy was still unconscious from using his power. Where can we go? Mina asked, looking at all the men surrounding the building. They have blocked every exit. Tae-min set Jiho down gently and moved to the broken window to look outside. What he saw made his face go pale. There were at least 20 men out there, maybe more. All of them moved like predators, and Mina could see their eyes reflecting the streetlights. This is more than a hunting party, Taemin said grimly. This is a war party. The front door opened and a new man walked in. He was different from the others, not just because he was clearly the leader, but because the air around him seemed to vibrate with power. He was tall and lean with silver hair and eyes like ice. When he looked at Jiho, something hungry and cruel flickered across his face. Alpha. Taemin, he said in a voice like silk over steel. You have led us quite a chase? But all good hunts must come to an end. Hyunwoo, Taemin replied, and Mina could hear the hatred in his voice. I should have known you were behind this. The man called Hyunwoo smiled, showing teeth that were too sharp to be human. Did you really think you could hide the boy forever? Your son is not just any Volf shifter, Taemin. His bloodline is the key to bridging our world and the human world. With his power we could rule both species. Jeho stirred in Taemin's arms, his amber eyes fluttering open. When he saw Hyenwoo, his whole body tensed with fear. The nightmare man, Jeho whispered. Father, I dreamed about him. He wants to put me in a cage and make me do bad things. Hyenwoo laughed, and the sound made Mina's skin crawl. Dreams can be very revealing, young Volf. You have seen glimpses of your future. You will help us bring order to the chaos between humans and wolves. Under our guidance, of course. Never, Taemin growled. I will die before I let you touch my son. That can be arranged, Hyenwoo said casually. But first let's discuss the human woman who has inserted herself into pack business. Mina felt every eye in the room turn to her. She wanted to run or hide, but there was nowhere to go. Instead, she stood up straighter and tried to look braver than she felt. Leave her out of this, Taemin said. She is not part of our world, but she is now Hyenwoo, replied, walking closer to Mina. She has fed our young Volf, sheltered him, protected him. By pack law, that makes her pack family. Which means she belongs to us now too, the way he said belongs. To us made Mina feel sick. These men talked about people like they were objects to be owned and used. I do not belong to anyone, Mina said, finding her voice. Especially not to men who threaten children. Hyenwoo reached out to touch her face, but Taemin moved between them faster than lightning. The two men stared at each other, and Mina could feel the tension building like pressure before an explosion. Has shown more honor than anyone in your pack ever has, Taemin said. She deserves respect, not threats. Respect is earned through strength, Hyenwoo replied. Humans are weak. They are meant to serve stronger species, not interfere with our affairs. From somewhere outside came the sound of police cars arriving. Hyenwoo looked annoyed but not worried. How inconvenient, he said. I suppose we will have to deal with the human authorities as well. Two of his men went to the windows, and Mina heard sounds that made her blood freeze, screaming, shouting, then terrible silence. What did you do? Mina asked in horror. We removed the obstacles, Hyenwoo said calmly. Human police are not equipped to handle supernatural threats. Now we can continue our business without interruption. Mina realized with growing terror that innocent people had just died because of this situation. Police officers who were just trying to do their jobs had been killed by these monsters. You are evil, she said, shaking with anger. Those were good people trying to help. Good and evil are human concepts, Hyenwoo replied. We are apex predators. We take what we need and eliminate what stands in our way. It is the natural order. That was when Jeho stood up on shaky legs. The little boy looked exhausted, but his eyes were blazing with golden fire. You are wrong, he said in a voice stronger than should have come from someone so small. Good and evil are not just human ideas. Even wolves have honor. Even wolves protect the innocent. You are not a Volf. You are just a monster. Hyenwoo backhanded the child so hard that Jeho flew across the room and hit the wall. Mina screamed and ran to him, but Taemin got there first. When he saw blood trickling from his son's mouth, something inside him snapped. The transformation was instant and terrifying. One moment, Taemin was a man, and the next he was the biggest Volf Mina had ever seen. But this time he was not alone. Other shapes began materializing from the shadows outside. Wolves with glowing eyes were surrounding the building. You brought friends, Hyenwoo said, sounding pleased rather than worried. How touching. But we brought more. The men in suits began changing too. But these were not the noble wolves that Mina had seen Taemin become. These creatures were twisted and wrong, looking more like demons than animals. Their eyes were cold and dead, and when they snarled, their teeth looked like razors. Now Mina understood the real difference. Taemin and his allies were true wolves, with honor and pride. Hyenwoo's pack were something else entirely. Something that had lost its soul in the pursuit of power. The battle that erupted was unlike anything Mina had ever imagined. Wolves and monsters crashed through what remained of the diner, fighting with claws and teeth and inhuman strength. But Mina noticed something that gave her hope. Every time one of the true wolves was in danger, another would help them. They fought as a team, protecting each other. Hyenwoo's creatures fought only for themselves. They would abandon wounded packmates and strike from behind when they thought no one was looking. They were strong, but they had no honor. In the middle of the chaos, Mina grabbed Jiho and pulled him behind the counter. The boy was hurt but conscious. We have to help them, she told him. Your father and his friends are outnumbered. Jiho looked at her with those amazing amber eyes. I am too tired to use my power again, he said. But you are human. You have something we do not have. What do you mean? Mina asked. Humans never give up, she said. Even when things seem impossible, you keep fighting. That is your greatest strength. Looking around the destroyed diner at the battle raging between good and evil, Mina realized Jiho was right. She was just a human waitress, but she had something these monsters would never understand. She had the ability to choose to do the right thing, even when it was dangerous. And right now, the right thing was to make sure that little boy stayed safe no matter what it cost her. The next evening started like any other night at the diner. Mina was serving coffee to the last few customers when the rain started pounding against the windows. She kept looking at the clock, wondering if Jiho would come by, even though he had said his father was returning. At 9:30, she heard someone banging on the back door. When she opened it, Jiho practically fell into the kitchen. His clothes were soaked, and he was breathing hard like he had been running for miles. His eyes were wide with fear and glowing that strange amber color she had seen before. Jiho, what happened? She asked, quickly closing the door behind him. They found us, he gasped. The bad men found our safe place. Father told me to run and find somewhere to hide. He said he would try to lead them away from me. Mina felt her heart start beating faster. She had hoped that Jiho's stories about dangerous men were just the imagination of a scared child, but the terror in his eyes was very real. Where is your father now? She asked. Fighting them, Jiho said, and his voice broke a little. There were so many of them, Mina. I wanted to help, but father made me promise to run if this ever happened. Mina was about to say something comforting when she heard the bell above the front door ring. 3 men in dark suits walked into the diner, moving in a way that made every instinct in Mina's body scream danger. They were tall and thin, with pale skin and eyes that seemed to reflect the light like mirrors. When they looked around the diner, their heads moved too smoothly, like they were sniffing the air. Stay hidden, Mina whispered to Jiho and pushed him toward the storage room. Hide behind the flour sacks and do not make any sound no matter what happens. Mina walked back into the main dining area, trying to look calm. The 3 men had spread out so that one was by the front door, one was by the window, and one was standing near the counter. The few remaining customers seemed nervous and were getting ready to leave. Can I help you, gentlemen? Mina asked in her most polite voice. The man by the counter smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. It showed too many teeth and made Mina think of a shark. We are looking for someone, he said in a voice that was smooth and cold. A young boy about 8 years old with dark hair and unusual eyes. I serve a lot of customers, Mina said, trying to keep her voice steady. Can you be more specific? This particular boy is special, the man said. He does not belong in the human world. He was stolen from his rightful place and we have come to take him back. The way he said human world made Mina's skin crawl. It was like he was talking about humans as a different species entirely. I have not seen any child like that, Mina lied. Most of my customers are adults who work in the factories nearby. The man by the window made a sniffing sound and said he was here recently. His scent is still strong. Mina felt cold fear wash over her. These men were definitely not normal humans. They talked about scents and moved like predators hunting prey. I think you gentlemen are mistaken, Mina said. This is just a diner. If you are not going to order food, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. The man by the counter took a step closer, and Mina could see that his eyes were not quite the right color. They were too pale, almost silver, and they seemed to glow in the dim light of the diner. We know the boy comes here every night, the man said. We have been watching. We know a foolish human woman has been feeding him and keeping him from his proper pack. The word pack made something click in Mina's mind. These men were talking about Jiho like he was some kind of animal, like he belonged to them somehow. I do not know what you are talking about, Mina said more firmly. There is no boy here. You need to leave my diner right now. The man smiled that terrible shark smile again. We could tear this place apart looking for him, he said. We could make things very unpleasant for you. But we are being generous. Tell us where the young Wolf is, and we will leave you unharmed. Wolf, the word hit Mina like a physical blow. Suddenly, everything about Jiho made sense. His strange abilities, his glowing eyes, the way he moved without making sound. The growling. She had heard. The way he could smell things and hear things that normal people could not. Even if I knew where this boy was, Mina said, surprised by her own courage, I would not tell you. Any child who is afraid of adults like you probably has good reason to be afraid. The three men looked at each other and something passed between them without words. The man by the door locked it and flipped the sign to closed. The man by the window pulled down the blinds. The last few customers had already left, running out into the rain like they could sense the danger. You are making a mistake, human, the man by the counter said. You do not understand what you are dealing with. That boy is not some lost child who needs your protection. He is valuable property that belongs to our pack. His bloodline is rare and powerful. He is a child, Mina said, her anger overcoming her fear. Children are not property no matter what they are. The man laughed, and it was not a human sound. It was something between a bark and a howl. You humans are so sentimental, he said. You think your feelings matter in the natural order of things. But we are apex predators and you are prey. The boy will come with us one way or another. From somewhere in the storage room, Mina heard a very quiet whimper. Her heart broke knowing that Jiho was listening to these terrible men talk about him, like he was an object to be owned. The boy is not here, Mina said again. You are wasting your time, then you will not mind if we search the place, the man said, and nodded to his companions. As the three men began moving toward the kitchen, Mina grabbed the baseball bat she kept behind the counter. She had never been in a real fight before, but she was not going to let these monsters hurt Jiho without trying to stop them. Stay away from my kitchen, she said, raising the bat. The men stopped and looked at her with something that might have been amusement. Brave little human, one of them said. But very stupid. That was when they heard it. A sound that made all three men freeze in place. It was coming from outside and it was getting closer. It sounded like a howl, but deeper and more terrifying than any Wolf Mina had ever heard in movies. It was the sound of something very large and very angry, announcing that it was coming to fight. The three men looked at each other with what might have been fear in their pale eyes. He found us, one of them whispered. The howling got closer, and suddenly the front window of the diner exploded inward as something huge and dark crashed through it. Mina screamed and dropped her bat as glass flew everywhere. When the dust settled, she saw the biggest Wolf she had ever imagined standing in the middle of her diner. Its fur was black as midnight and its eyes glowed like golden fire. When it looked at the three men, it pulled back its lips to show teeth that could tear a person in half. But the most amazing thing was that Mina was not afraid of this massive creature. Somehow she knew without any doubt that this Wolf was here to protect Jiho. This was Taemin, and he had come to save his son. The old clock on the wall showed 9:15 when Mina first saw the boy. She was wiping down tables at Danny's diner and looked up to see a small face pressed against the window. The glass was dirty and covered with raindrops, but she could still see his big dark eyes watching the people inside eat their food. Mina had been working at the diner for 3 years now. She knew all the regular customers and all the street kids who sometimes came by asking for food, but this boy was different. He did not knock on the door or ask for anything. He just stood there in the rain watching people eat with a look on his face that made Mina's heart hurt. The boy looked about 8 years old, maybe 9. His black hair was messy and stuck to his head from the rain. His clothes were too big for him and had holes in them. But what made Mina keep looking at him was something in his eyes. They were not like other kids' eyes. They seemed older somehow, like he had seen things that children should not see. When Mina looked again a few minutes later, the boy was gone. She thought maybe she had imagined him, but the next night at the same time he was back. Same spot by the window, same hungry look in his eyes. This time Mina watched him for longer. The boy stood very still, like he was afraid to move. Every few minutes he would look over his shoulder as if someone might be following him. On the third night, Mina made a decision. She wrapped up some leftover sandwiches and a cup of hot soup and went to the back door of the diner. The boy was not at the window, but she found him sitting on the ground behind the building. He looked up at her with scared eyes and started to run, but Mina called out softly. "Wait," she said. "I have some food for you." The boy stopped but did not come closer. Mina set the food down on the ground and stepped back. After a long moment, the boy came forward and took the food. He ate it so fast that Mina worried he might get sick. "What's your name?" she asked, but the boy did not answer. He just looked at her with those strange dark eyes and whispered thank you in a voice so quiet she almost missed it. Then he was gone, running into the darkness like he was afraid someone would see him. The next night Mina had food ready again. This time the boy stayed a little longer. She learned his name was Jiho when she heard him talking to a stray cat that lived behind the diner. He spoke to the cat like it was his friend, telling it about his day in that same quiet voice. Night after night Jiho came back. Sometimes he would help Mina stack chairs or sweep the floor in exchange for food. He never said much, but Mina began to notice things about him that seemed strange. His hearing was better than any person she had ever met. He could hear cars coming from blocks away. His eyes seemed to glow a little bit in the dark like an animal's eyes. And he moved without making any sound at all, even when he was running. One night, while Jiho was helping her clean up, Mina asked him where he lived. "Far from here," he said, not looking at her. "Where is your family?" Mina asked. "My father works dangerous jobs," Jiho said. "He has to go away sometimes for many days." "What about your mother?" Mina asked gently. Jiho stopped sweeping and his face got very sad. "She went away when I was little," he said. "Father says she had to go somewhere safe." Mina felt her heart break for this child. She had grown up without parents, too, bouncing from one foster home to another. She knew what it felt like to be alone and scared. "Where do you stay when your father is away?" she asked. Different places," Jiho said. "Sometimes I find empty buildings. Sometimes I sleep outside." "What about school?" Mina asked. Jiho shook his head. "Father says it's not safe for me to go to school. He says there are bad people who might try to hurt me if they find me." This made Mina worried. What kind of life was this for a child? She wanted to ask more questions, but Jiho had already picked up his backpack and was heading for the door. "Duvea, wait," Mina called. "You can stay here tonight if you want. I have a small room upstairs." But Jiho was already shaking his head. "I cannot stay in one place too long," he said. "Father says moving is the only way to stay safe." After Jiho left that night, Mina could not stop thinking about him. She had seen many street kids over the years, but none like him. There was something different about Jiho, something that made her feel like he was carrying secrets too big for a child his age. The next few weeks followed the same pattern. Jiho would come by every night for food and sometimes stay to help with small jobs around the diner. Mina learned little bits about his life. His father was often away on work that Jiho would not talk about. They moved around a lot, never staying in one place for more than a few weeks. Jiho had never been to school or had friends his own age, but there were other things too. Strange things that Mina tried not to think about too much. Like how Jiho always knew when it was going to rain hours before the first clouds appeared, or how he could tell her exactly what kind of car was coming down the street just by the sound of the engine, or how his eyes seemed to change color sometimes, shifting from dark brown to a golden amber color, especially when he was scared or excited. One night Jiho arrived at the diner with scratches on his arms and a torn shirt. His face was pale and his hands were shaking. "What happened?" Mina asked, rushing to get the first aid kit. "I had to run," Jiho said. "There were men looking for me." "Bad men." Mina cleaned his scratches and was surprised at how quickly they seemed to be healing. Within minutes, the cuts looked days old instead of fresh. "Who were these men?" she asked. "People who want to hurt my father and me," Jiho said. "Father says they have been hunting us for years." "Why would they want to hurt you?" Mina asked. "You are just a child?" Jiho looked at her with those strange amber eyes. "I'm not like other children," he said. "Father says I am special, but that being special can be dangerous." Before Mina could ask what he meant, Jiho had gathered his things and was heading for the door again. But this time something was different. This time, Mina could swear she saw him move faster than any human should be able to move. And for just a moment, she thought she saw something else too. Something that looked almost like the shadow of a wolf following behind him as he disappeared into the night. 2 weeks passed after the night Jiho came to the diner with scratches on his arms. Mina found herself looking at the clock every night waiting for 9:15 when the boy would appear. She started preparing special meals for him, not just leftovers, but fresh food that she paid for with her own money. Hot soup on cold night sandwiches, with extra meat and sometimes even cookies from the bakery next door. Jiho began staying longer each night. At first he would eat quickly and leave, but now he would sit with Mina in the empty diner and help her with closing duties. He was surprisingly good at organizing things and seemed to know exactly how she liked everything arranged. His movements were always careful and quiet, like he was trying not to disturb anything around him. During these quiet hours together, Mina learned more about Jiho's strange life. His father was named Taemin and worked jobs that required him to travel far away. Jiho never said exactly what kind of work his father did, but he would get worried looks on his face whenever he talked about it. The boy carried a small phone that never seemed to ring, but he would check it constantly like he was waiting for an important message. "What does your father look like?" Mina asked one night while they were stacking chairs. "He is tall and strong," Jiho said. "He has eyes like mine, but they glow brighter when he gets angry. He can hear things from very far away, and he always knows when danger is coming." "That sounds like he takes good care of you," Mina said. Jiho nodded, but his face looked sad. "He tries to keep me safe, but sometimes he has to leave me alone to protect other people. He says there are bad men who want to hurt our family, and the only way to stop them is to fight them. What kind of bad men?" Mina asked gently. "Men who think they own people," Jiho said. "Men who want to use people like me and my father for bad things. Father says they have been hunting us since I was very small." Mina felt a chill run down her spine. She had heard stories about human trafficking and organized crime, but something about the way Jiho talked made this sound different, more dangerous. Somehow, one night Jiho arrived earlier than usual. It was only 8:30 and the diner still had a few customers. Mina was surprised to see him peek through the window, but when she waved at him, he shook his head and disappeared around the back of the building. She found him sitting behind the dumpster looking scared. "What's wrong?" she asked, sitting down beside him on the cold ground. "There are men watching the street," Jiho whispered. "They came in a big black car, and they have been sitting there for an hour. I think they might be looking for me." Mina looked around the corner and saw the car Jiho was talking about. It was parked across the street with tinted windows so dark she could not see inside. But she could tell there were people in it because she could see the glow of cigarettes. "How do you know?" "They are looking for you," she asked. "I can smell them." Jiho said, then looked embarrassed, like he had said something he should not have. I can tell they are not from around here. They smell like the men who came to our old hiding place." Mina decided not to ask about the smelling comment, even though it seemed very strange. Instead, she took Jiho inside through the back door and made sure he stayed in the kitchen where no customers could see him. The black car stayed parked across the street until almost midnight. When it finally drove away, Jiho relaxed for the first time all evening. That night, Jiho told Mina more about his life than he ever had before. He and his father had lived in many different cities, always moving when things became dangerous. They had a network of friends who helped them, but most of these friends were also being hunted by the same bad men. Jiho had never stayed in one place long enough to make real friends or go to a real school. "Do you ever get lonely?" Mina asked. "All the time," Jiho said quietly. "But father says loneliness is better than being caught by the bad men. He says if they ever caught me, they would use me to hurt other people. Makes you so special that these men would want you?" Mina asked. Jiho was quiet for a long time. Finally, he said, "Father says I have a gift that could help a lot of people, but it could also be used to hurt people. He says when I get older, I will understand better." Mina wanted to ask more questions, but she could see that talking about this made Jiho uncomfortable. Instead, she made him a cup of hot chocolate and they sat together in the warm kitchen listening to the radio play soft music. Over the next few days, Mina noticed more changes in Jiho. He seemed more relaxed around her and would actually smile. Sometimes when she told him funny stories about difficult customers, he started bringing small gifts for her wild flowers he found growing in empty lots or smooth stones from the river. Once he brought her a feather that was so black it seemed to shine blue in the light. "Where did you find this?" Mena asked, holding up the beautiful feather. "A big bird dropped it near where I was sleeping," Jiho said. But something in his voice made Mena think there was more to the story. She also noticed that Jiho was getting stronger. When he helped her move heavy boxes or rearrange furniture, he could lift things that should have been too heavy for a child. His reflexes were incredible too. One night, a glass fell off the counter, and Jiho caught it before Mina even saw it start to fall. The strangest thing happened on a Thursday night when they were closing up together. Mena was counting the money from the register when she heard a low growling sound. She looked around confused because there were no dogs in the diner. Then she realized the sound was coming from Jiho. He was looking out the window with his eyes glowing that strange amber color and making a sound deep in his throat that definitely was not human. "Jiho," she said softly. The boy blinked and the growling stopped. His eyes went back to their normal dark brown color and he looked embarrassed. "Sorry," he whispered. "Sometimes I forget to control it." Control what, Mina asked, but Jiho had already grabbed his backpack and was heading for the door. "I have to go," he said. "Father is coming back tomorrow, and I need to meet him at our safe place." As Jiho disappeared into the night, Mina stood in the empty diner, wondering what she had gotten herself into. This child was definitely not normal, but she found that she did not care. Normal or not, Jiho needed someone to look out for him, and Mina had decided that someone was going to be her. The battle raged through the night with neither side able to gain a clear advantage. Mena crouched behind the counter, holding Jiho close as the sounds of fighting echoed around them. Broken glass crunched under heavy paws and claws scraped against overturned tables. The air was filled with growls and howls that spoke of ancient fury and desperate determination. Through it all, Mena watched in amazement as Taemin and his pack fought with perfect coordination. They moved like they could read each other's minds, protecting the weak and striking at enemies with deadly precision. Even outnumbered, they refused to give up or retreat. Hyenwoo's creatures were stronger individually, but they had no loyalty to each other. When one of them was wounded, the others would abandon it to save themselves. When they saw an opportunity to strike from behind, they took it, even if it meant betraying their own packmates. As the hours passed, Mena began to see the true difference between the two groups. Taemin's wolves were fighting for family and honor. They were protecting something precious. Hyenwoo's monsters were fighting only for power and control. They wanted to possess and dominate rather than protect and nurture. "You see it now, do you not?" Jiho whispered beside her. "You understand why Father has been running for so long." Mena nodded, watching as Taemin, in his massive Volf form, tackled two enemies at once to protect a smaller Volf who had been cornered. These were not just different packs fighting over territory. This was good battling evil in its purest form. Near dawn, the tide of battle began to turn. Several of Hyenwoo's creatures had been driven off, and the remaining ones were showing signs of exhaustion. But Taemin's pack was also getting tired, and Mena could see that they would not be able to keep fighting much longer. That was when she made a decision that would change everything. She stood up from behind the counter and walked into the middle of the chaos. "Stop," she shouted at the top of her lungs. Every Volf and creature in the diner froze. They all turned to look at this small human woman who had dared to interrupt their ancient battle. "All of you stop fighting right now," Mena said with authority that surprised even her. "This has gone far enough." Hyenwoo had remained in human form throughout the battle, directing his creatures like a general commanding troops. Now he looked at Mena with amusement and contempt. "The human thinks she can give orders to superior beings," he said. "How entertaining. I am not giving orders to superior beings," Mena replied, walking closer to him. "I am talking to cowards who pick on children and bullies who think might makes right." Several of Hyenwoo's creatures snarled at her, but she ignored them. Instead, she kept her eyes fixed on their leader. "You want Jiho because you think his power will make you stronger," she continued. But you are wrong. Power without love is just destruction. Strength without compassion is just cruelty. You will never be truly strong because you do not understand what real strength is and what is real strength. Human Hien Wu asked Mockingly. Real strength is a waitress standing up to monsters to protect a hungry child. Mina said, real